fictional friends, and welcome to a special bonus episode of Fully Booked. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shireen.
But it is the month of May, which basically at this point in the world is the month of Bridgerton. And
of course.
So in keeping in complete theme with the fact that we've been going over the last 2 seasons of the show, it also felt incredibly appropriate to sit down and chat about the first batch of episodes of season 3, which just dropped this past Thursday, May 16th.
Home any longer. I must take a husband.
Does my lady have a suitor in mind?
Is that our brother?
Colin?
Brother? Under what foreign sun did you apparently get so sturdy?
Oh, it is good to see you.
Is it?
Something wrong?
Seems as though every Bridgerton was born to attract notice. For some of us, notice is very slight.
If a husband is what you seek, let me help you. Are we not friends?
And so easy to watch right away, one shot.
Basically, I think everybody probably watched all 4 episodes at once. And so, of course, the collective internet was just like, well, I know what I'm doing this week.
Totally.
So we hit this and we decided, hey, let's record a bonus episode about this too, so we can just keep talking about it.
Of course, because it was great.
We haven't talked about it.
We just spent an hour talking about it, and I was like, I think we should probably go just record ourselves.
Yeah, I know. We always do that.
We
We're
always do that, and then by the time we get to the recording, it's like, wait, what was it you said about the thing?
Yeah, exactly. We're terrible at this. So we're here to talk about the first batch of season 3 of Bridgerton. So, my understanding is that we had 4 episodes that dropped on the 16th, and then I believe June 13th, the last 4 episodes are dropping. So, we'll be back. We're going to do a part 2 because it would feel weird to do part 1 and not do part 2.
I mean, personally, I finished the first 4 episodes, and I was like, I kind of wish that they had just waited till June to release all of them at once, because this was the big build up. It's I think I read online someone described it as you've just gone and you've got all the food to prepare for your meal, and now you've prepared the food, and now you got to wait.
You're waiting for your guests
to eat,
basically. You're waiting for everyone to show up so that you can sit down and eat the food.
Exactly.
That is kind of what it is, and that's what we're getting, and that's why they knew how to leave us on the kind of cliffhanger that we get left on, right? So season 3 obviously picks up it with book 4 in this particular case, called Romancing-Mr-Bridgerton, which is the story between Penelope and Colin. I don't have to tell you about it.
I thought the first one was romancing. Oh no, that's
the Duke and I. Yeah,
I haven't read the books, so
I've read 6 of 8.
Oh, right, okay.
So I've gotten up to Francesca's story. I have Gregory and Hyacinth left. I haven't read those 2.
Yeah, she dropped a big spoiler on me about Eloise, and then I got mad, and now I'm just like, well, you might as well just tell me what happens.
She's so cranky about it as well.
I hate spoilers, and Megan's like, oh yeah, this happened.
Maybe it's because I don't. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that much. People are like, oh, do you want me to tell you that? I'm like, yeah, whatever, sure. You can tell me.
I'm just like, no, I like the surprise.
And I live in a home with a partner who also feels that way. He's also like, no, it's okay. You can tell me what the spoilers are. So.
My husband also likes the surprise.
So Romancing-Mr-Bridgerton is book 4, so we've jumped into Penelope and Colin's story. When we last left them, Penelope and Eloise's friendship had been completely ruined because Eloise had discovered that Penelope was in fact Lady Whistledown, and she'd, over the course of the last couple of seasons, written some pretty terrible things about the Bridgertons in general, partially for her own self-interest, and partially in the latter half of things because she did feel as though she was protecting her friend by doing so. Misguided, I do understand, but, probably not the best way of going about things. But it did cause, obviously, a massive rift in their friendship, and they haven't really spoken since then.
Yeah, it is a big part of the season.
It is,
Their break in friendship, and you can understand that, right? At that age, your best friend, it's as if you and I suddenly had a big falling out.
And then just stopped speaking to each other.
It would just be I'd just be brokenhearted, doing all the brokenhearted things.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I too am going to find a good window seat to sit at and just stare out there because I guess I don't have anything else to be happy about now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true. It would be really upsetting. So I can understand that because they were very close and it was very clear throughout the course of the last 2 seasons. So, that caused a big rift. And Penelope also overheard Colin speaking to some other men that he was talking to and basically made a disparaging comment to the degree of I will never date Penelope Featherington, that's ridiculous, and was very brokenhearted by this because she's been in love with him for years.
Forever.
Yeah. So, coming back for the new London season, basically, she, because of all of this sort of betrayal that she dealt with, she refused to give up the idea of writing as Lady Whistledown, even though that had been her initial idea at the end of the past season. So she's come back. She's still doing it. She's building her business, basically, out of this, because she's like, well, what else do I
blame her?
I mean, at this point, I think she feels it's her third season out. She's like, I have nothing else to really do or
occupy myself
or live for at this point. And she's got now not only one but two older sisters who are married. Both of whom are being very heavily pressured by their mother in order to have an heir, a male heir specifically, so that they can keep the Featherington estate within, you know, their family. And so it's one of those things, again, Lady Featherington's such a complicated character that way, because you want to just hate her, but she has really good, like, motivation overall for doing the things that she does. Not the way that she treats her kids, but the ideas that she has about things, where she's like, hi, I'm just trying to be pragmatic, and if you guys have a boy, that boy will be able to keep everything within the family, will be able to keep hold, and they won't have to go through the debacle that they experienced in the previous season with some random cousin showing up.
I thought it was really interesting to insert the like the notary guy who came in and was
the lawyer there,
if these documents are forged.
Oh my god, yeah. So she's forged a document to indicate that basically the cousin that took off who she blackmailed into leaving in the past season,
because he was thieving from everybody.
Yeah, because he had fake gem mines in the States. So she blackmailed him into taking off and then kept a bunch of the money to tide them over, basically. And the idea was that she's like, okay, so I'm going to forge a document from him, allegedly. That bequeaths the estate to my daughters, but whichever one of them has a male heir first, pretty much. So whichever one of you has a boy, like, that's fine, it's for you. So she's just determined one of you has to get pregnant, one of you has to have a boy.
Which is, side note, the hilarious part of
their whole side thing this season, I will say, like, it cracks me up. They're very funny.
Normally these characters, like, in the previous seasons, have really irritated me. Like, I just don't like them. Like,
no.
Because they've got, like, a very, like, I said this to you, like a Cinderella-esque
evil sister thing.
Evil, like, stepsister, but you know, they're kind of there for, like, the like, we're following their storyline, but I don't really care.
But now they're plucky comic relief fully.
Oh my god, they were so funny.
They are hilarious, because that's it. And I like that we're getting, I guess, like, a little bit more of, like, Prudence and Philippa, but in, like, a different way than we did before. So basically they're both determined that's it. Prudence has gotten married, like, off camera between seasons to a man who's, like, obsessed with looks in a way that makes me feel like maybe she's his beard.
Oh yeah, that, like, absolutely crossed my mind immediately.
I was like, I wasn't sure when I was watching it. I was like, I don't know. He also seems like he wants to have sex with her too, so it's really hard to tell. But half the time he seems like a dandy, and the other half of the time he seems completely besotted with her. So I don't know.
But like, she's the mean one.
Yes.
And there's, like, so the comic relief storyline behind this is that, like, and Megan and I were just talking about this, is obviously at this time, if your mother didn't explain to you what sex was or how it worked, you wouldn't know how it would work when you got married unless your husband had some sort of semblance of a notion of it.
And we've seen this in the previous seasons. Like, Daphne experienced this in the first season when she didn't understand the workings of how one gets pregnant.
Right.
And Penelope and Eloise had experienced kind of the same thing just through hearsay that they were getting from other characters when Marina was pregnant, all of that sort of thing. So we're still keeping that notion alive that, like, young women at the time, particularly of, like, higher standing, were never told anything about how anything worked, so they didn't understand the act.
And these two, their husbands aren't of high status, I don't believe.
And they're both kind of stupid.
And they're both kind of dumb. And so it's just really funny because, like, throughout the beginning of the season, you know, is it
Philippa?
Prudence.
I think the oldest one,
Yeah, the oldest one, Prudence, who's the mean one, is kind of like, oh, well, we did it once and I don't like it because it hurt and my hair gets messy.
Yeah. Oh, and it flattens my hair.
It flattens my hair. And her mom's like, okay, but you have to do it more often. And, like, Philippa is sitting there, like,
and
all
she's
smug.
The whole time, she's like, we do it all the time.
We do it all the time. Okay, well, one of you knows how it works. And you don't really think about it.
No, because the thing that's so funny about Philippa and Mr. Finch, her husband, is that, like, they're both dumb. Like they're both like space cadets. Like they're both out to lunch all the time, but they actually seem to quite love each other.
Oh, they do.
Actually.
Yeah.
Like Prudence it's like a 50-50 thing where she wanted this husband. I think she wanted someone to fawn over her, which she does. So she's gotten what she wanted that way. But I don't think that the rest of it really, she's fussed about it all that much. Like she doesn't really care about it. But with Philippa, like I think she legitimately did fall in love with Mr. Finch and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so for them, you're like, oh, okay, no, I feel like they're fucking, you know?
Yeah, oh, totally. And she's just there, like, smug and, like,
she's all happy about it.
you know, whatnot. And then you find out a little bit later that is not the case. And she's just like, oh, why would it hurt? Because the mother is like, you know, when he inserts himself, and she's like, inserts it where?
And her mom and her sister are both like, are you fucking kidding me? She's like, what do you mean he still has, like, his pants on when you guys have sex? It doesn't make sense. So, of course, we realize that she doesn't actually understand how any of this works, so they have to, like, bring her into the fold of knowing how to actually have sex. And I will say, we just have, like, a quick moment. They finally do figure it out because it's explained to her, and they do it, and they both seem to be having a good time.
But I just love these whole dynamics, like, when they're at the ball there, and he's like, oh, like, she's gone off to find some pastries, or I've gone off to find pastries, and the mother's like, your wife is a pastry.
Oh my god! And when the other one is just like, I like to think of Prudence as a bonbon, and she's like, you're so pretty.
It's just so good. So I have to say, like, I appreciate how the Featheringtons have, like, been kicked up a notch this season. They're so fucking
funny. God,
they're really funny.
They are really funny.
Like,
and
they found their place, I think.
I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know what they did to Philippa this season.
She's gorgeous.
But she looks fucking beautiful.
Oh my god.
They changed her
sort of,
hair.
Like, bronzer
Oh
on
my gosh,
her.
she looks stunning.
Stunning.
She looks so good. Every shot she's in, I'm like, oh my god, she looks gorgeous.
I know. Her skin's beautiful.
Oh man,
like,
she looks incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, married life suits her, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Like, she's super happy.
Yeah, and they're both determined to outdo each other and both have the first male heir first, so they both get pregnant
at the same
basically
time.
the same time, and then it's almost like a competitiveness of who will have a boy, because whoever has a boy, obviously,
they're probably both gonna end up having girls. Like,
that would be great. Well, I mean, there seems to be a pattern in this family.
Well, yeah, I mean, three girls,
yeah, and that's it. That's all they ever had. So anyway, so that's like sort of their whole storyline. But because of all of these shenanigans that are occurring, you know, Penelope's realized that, like, holy fuck, like, if I'm here in this, I'm never going to be able to get away from, like, my mom and this crap. She's like, I'm not doing it. And, you know, her mom made a comment about her always taking care of her, and she was like, oh dear God, dear Lord, just kill me now. So,
and, like, it's tricky, right? Because Penn is making a lot of money through Lady Whistledown.
But
like,
she
she's
can
got
never,
money,
but she can never declare any of it. She can't really use
Yeah.
very much of it in the first place. She has to keep everything squirreled away. And even if she were to do something crazy, even though I know you wouldn't, it wouldn't be well thought of at that time. But if she were to do something like move out on her own,
well, it would raise a lot of questions.
It would raise a lot of questions because, well, where did that money come from?
Yeah.
How would you have managed to do that? And your mother would never have said yes to giving you money for you to move out by yourself.
So she's really stuck between a rock and a hard place here.
Yeah. Where it's so almost ironic because she's created this thriving business for herself, but she can do nothing to claim it at all, or keep any sort of, like, really use any of the spoils that she's put together. So short of running away, like absconding somewhere by herself, there really wouldn't be anything else for her to do.
Making up a fake husband.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it becomes her mission this season to find a husband, because she's like, well, if I can find someone who is independent and is comfortable with my level of independence so that I can kind of keep my secrets.
Keep my secrets.
That should be basically, that's like the right way for me to go about things. So I guess I'm looking for a husband.
Yep.
And that becomes her goal for the season.
Yeah, and she's looking at it in a very, like,
pragmatic kind of way.
Yeah, like a transactional kind of way, right?
Yes, exactly. Which would have been very common at that time, so it's not like a weird thing.
No, because they bring this up a lot in this show where they're like, oh, like, I was very lucky. I had a love match, and that's rare. But every fucker has a love match.
Every fucking Bridgerton sibling has a love match, and they're going to continue to do so.
Sure.
Which is funny. But yeah, I know. It's sort of ironic. You're like, okay, but this, of course, the whole point is going to be that the Bridgertons are outliers because their mother and father had a love match. Yeah. They, in turn, kind of follow that same pattern. Yeah. Whereas with the Featheringtons, their parents did not. And so I think it's only natural for, like, Penelope to be looking at these things through a different lens.
Yeah, like, I think she reads a lot of romance.
She does.
I think she
and
understands
she wants one.
Of course. And, like, obviously, if she could have Colin, she would.
She would, but she knows that that's not a possibility. So she's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm just going to find someone else then. So she decides that that's what she's going to do.
Right.
Obviously, Colin's been away again traveling throughout the course of the year. Whatever would they say, 4 months or something?
Yeah, he went to 17 different cities.
A bunch of different places. So he's been off doing that and exploring things and I guess figuring himself out a little bit more. And I think fully allowing himself to get away from the whole Marina thing of it all and not holding on to the idea of something like that anymore.
Yeah.
So he comes back. I mean, in the first episode, he comes back and is just like a fuckboy for a minute there, which I was like,
with his threesomes. I'm like, dude, do you have to be with like 2?
I don't know. No, it wasn't even for me. For me, it was just all the flirting. Oh my god, at like that garden party or whatever, where he's just like saying all these things to these women. I'm like, ew. If he had said any of that to me, I would have turned around and walked in the other direction.
Yeah, Megan does not have patience for this. I, on the other hand, am a little bit more inclined to.
Don't know how to accept the flirting because I don't know how to do it myself. Like I can't do that. Okay, so I'm getting out of myself. But anyway, okay, so he has tried to approach Penelope, but she's been, honest with him and been like, hey, I overheard you being an asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm not okay with it.
Yep.
Cool. So because of that, he feels bad. And he's like, no, look, and, she's explaining, she's like, listen, I want to get married, but I'm basically not going to be able to. And it's driving me nuts. And he's like, okay, well, let me help you.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I can just,
I can teach you how to be charming.
I can teach you how to be, like, more charming and be more of yourself with people. And then you can, that's it. Hopefully you'll be able to put yourself out there more and find a husband. And so they agree to do this.
And it lasts for, like, 4 seconds.
Yeah, oh, my God. It's so funny. I knew
I thought it was going to be, like, kind of like Daphne and Simon. I was like, oh, are we going down the same storyline again kind of thing,
And we're not going down the, we're doing something different again from, like, Antony and Kate also, where we're not waiting until the 11th hour for them to, like, actually do something.
Yeah, but there's, like, a whole other, like, conflict that has to happen here, right?
Oh, for sure. Because if you think about it, too, there's always going to be something more complicated with Penn, because not only is there the love story of it all, but there's also the Lady Whistledown of it all. Not many people are aware of who she is.
And I think it's in the first episode of the season that Colin declares like war on Lady Whistledown.
Yeah, where he's basically like, she's written some really heinous shit about my family and the people around me and Marina. Like, he does still hold on to that a little bit in terms of being, mad about it. And he's like, like, we'll take her down when we can, kind of thing. She'll be unmasked eventually, and then everybody will be happy about it. And standing there like,
yeah, well, Eloise is standing there. She's like,
she's like, yeah. She's like, oh man. She's like, she was still my best friend, so I'm not going to rat on her, but which is basically what it is. And they have like, and so, Eloise, of course, has become kind of friends over the summer with Cressida Cowper, who we've seen in every season so far. And usually she was like your mean girl character for the first couple of seasons, but it's nice. Again,
I appreciate the
good
character
job
development.
Yeah, good job, writers, giving people actual character development and not making everybody black and white all the time, where, her Cressida is one of those where, because of like her parents and the expectation of her character and the way that she acts and the things that she says and how mean she is, it is, I guess it doesn't excuse it, but it explains it.
Oh, definitely. Like, you can definitely tell that this is a character who is she has a lot of pressure being put on her by her mother and her father to get married.
Especially her father. He seems like an asshole.
Oh, yeah, but it also seems that, like, she's got pressure on her to be perfect all the time.
Yes.
But at the same time, I was saying this to you. This poor girl is beautiful, and the way that they dress her up,
oh my God,
does
her hair.
Her
hair drives me bonkers.
And like, I was looking at her because I'm like, what is it about her? Because her face is beautiful, and when she smiles, she's beautiful.
She's stunning.
And I'm like looking at her, and I'm like, what is it about her? And I'm like, it's the way that they do her fucking hair.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
Big like.
Do you know what's really interesting? I don't know.
Big shoulders.
I don't know if this is real. So like people maybe who have like looked into it with regards to like what the like costume designers and stuff have said a whole bunch of stuff about the choices that they make for the different characters. Yeah. So maybe somebody knows this, but I feel like her mom forces Cressida to do her hair in those ridiculous updos to emulate the Queen. Because of all the wigs that she has.
That is a good point, because if you look, like, I remember in the first season, that thought crossed my mind, because her hair was, like, really elaborate with, like, all these, like, little braids going up and, like, creating, like, this big, like,
and the only other
thing.
Person's hair who looks like that is the Queen, because of all the elaborate wigs that she has and stuff. And you're like, yes, but she's the Queen.
Yeah, but, like, Cressida, like, in one of the scenes, I think it's where Eloise goes to visit her during, like, visitation hours or whatever. She's got, like, fucking fucking little like pom-poms sticking out of her hair.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And in either that episode or maybe the one after that, the queen literally has a wig on that has moving, like a fucking miniature moving Swan Lake situation that's like an animatronic inside her fucking wig. That was incredible.
Awesome, by the way.
But that's the thing, because of the character, the type of, like, her standing and the type of character she is and how she's meant to present herself, it makes sense that Charlotte has the kind of elaborate wigs and hair pieces that she has. Like, you're like, this makes sense to me. Like,
but it doesn't make sense for Cressida.
It doesn't.
And it feels like this poor girl has never had the chance to like understand who she is and what she wants, because it goes back to like she's always hankering after like someone every season. It always happens to be like the one that like one of the Bridgertons after or something. But like, you know, she's also kind of in conflict, not in conflict, but she's like in competition with Penn over her potential suitor. And she doesn't even like the guy. There's nothing about him that would like attract Cressida. I don't. But it's like, oh, he's a suitor.
And I think that's been the case every single season so far. Like with the prince in the first season, he was just the prince. Okay, that's why she was interested.
Again, it's her mother. Like her mother being like, look, that's the best. That's the most.
It's always who's the most eligible? Who has the biggest estate? That one. That's the one that you want. And so instead of her being able to discover what it is that she likes about a man. Or doesn't like, because I'm sure there's a lot of that too. What would it be that would attract her to someone? It would be nice if, you know, she was able to actually experience that. And I mean, who knows, because she's given no indication at all so far other than everything very performative. What if Cressida's like a queer character? What if she's in love with Eloise?
Who knows? And like I'm kind of hoping that because she's friends with Eloise now, that Eloise might help her kind of come out of her own shell a little bit.
It's starting.
But I'm not sure, because like there was like a trailer at the end, and it kind of seems like she goes full mean girl again in the next few episodes. I hope not, but I'm like, boo.
Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, that's it. Maybe this character is just like not interested in any of the, like, she's not been able to understand what it is that she finds attractive in a suitor. And I don't think that she has, because she's always just been pointed due north towards the richest one in the room, and that's all she's supposed to focus on. So I don't think she's understood anything about like what her sort of desire is that way, what she finds attractive in a person at all. And I don't think that's given her an opportunity to do so. So it'll be interesting to see, that's it, like kind of if that's able, with Eloise's influence a little bit, because it seems to kind of be working so far, if that'll be able to kind of develop a little bit over time. I don't know. We'll see. So Penn and Colin decide to start working together, even though there's already some tension between the two of them. Like on her part to start off with, but he follows pretty swiftly afterward, I would say.
Colin? Yeah. Well, I text you, right? I'm like, do you think that they have some sort of coach on this show to like help them look longingly into the distance?
I mean, if they don't, then they're all just really good.
They're all just really good at it.
Because it happens every season. So.
Yeah, all the time.
Kind of. So he decides to start helping her. It's really just her being, because like Penelope is charming and witty and funny. And intelligent to have a conversation with, but she just gets very in her own head about how she's going to sound if she says something. So everything comes out kind of awkward. And her whole scene where she tries to like flirt with those like three men when he's like, okay, show me what you can do. I was like, oh God, that would be like if I tried to do that. That's terrible. And I felt like I felt very seen. I was just like, here's the secondhand cringe, because this is exactly what would happen if I tried to do this.
That's why I'm your wing woman.
Yeah, because you have people skills. So, meanwhile, I would be like, oh no,
I gotta go talk to people.
I have to go talk to people. So I can kind of understand that. So he's like, oh boy, we really got a lot to work on. But it's nice because most of the coaching, quote unquote, that he does give her is really to tell her, like, you have all of the elements necessary for this already. It's just not thinking too hard about something and feeling like you're going to say the wrong thing, and just allowing yourself to kind of have a natural conversation and not feeling like you have to pretend to be another person for it. You can just be you.
I think that, and if you notice, like all of her early interactions with, what's his name, Lord blonde guy?
Debling.
I cannot figure out his name. I keep thinking Lord Danbury.
She keeps sending me texts, and she was just like, blonde guy. I was like, he has a name, Shereen. He's a nice person. He seems all right.
But her early interactions with him, it so happens that it's like after she's just had like a big upset every time.
Yeah,
so she doesn't really care.
She has no filter with what
him.
she's saying. She's not being careful about what she says.
She's just like, oh, whatever, and she kind of cracks a few jokes and stuff, and that's what attracts him to her.
And that's why he's like, she seems great.
Yeah.
Like, she seems really nice.
Yeah.
I like her.
Also, he doesn't read Lady Whistledown, which is funny.
Yes, which I think probably helps her quite a bit because, of course, there's like their gossip is overheard because Eloise says probably louder than she should.
I noticed that. I was like,
in the
girl.
middle of a party, I'm like, girl, what? Like, okay, not even just Cressida. There's like 5 other girls standing right there, and it's one of them who spills the beans. That's it. That she was looking for a husband, and so she basically enlisted Colin's help for it. So everything becomes, oh, how sad and pathetic.
Yeah,
that she had to do this ha 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 type of thing. And so so she's like, humiliated and has to write as Lady Whistledown about it because she's like, well, it'd be suspicious not to, wouldn't it?
Well, it's interesting because up until this season, it kind of seemed more like Pen was just completely like not even noticed by people.
Yeah.
But in this season, it seems like she's like bullied, like
it's harsher a little bit, and it's so crazy because it's like some of it comes from Cressida, but it used to all come from her.
Yeah.
And now because of just a couple of little things to make herself stand out just that little bit more, and all it was a wardrobe and a hair change. Yeah. Only because of that, everybody's suddenly like, ha ha, let's poke fun at this one now. Like, why? Because she looks hot? Yeah. That's probably why.
She's so beautiful.
Probably because they're like jealous now and upset about it.
That red hair. Gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. She's stunning. She's stunning. She has some of the nicest skin I've ever seen in my
I know.
life.
So
and
dewy.
She's 37 years old.
Oh, she's beautiful.
It's crazy. Ridiculous.
Yeah, lovely.
We all stand Nicola Collins.
We really do. We love her.
We love her. She's incredible. Watch Dairy Girls if you haven't watched it.
So good.
So good. Anyway, so I find that that's interesting. And I think that's why also, just as somebody who's more introverted, I think that's also why a lot of people who are like more introverted and feel uncomfortable in social situations will not do very much to stand out because you don't want that attention that could turn negative very quickly. Right. And if you see something like this, that's exactly what happens.
Totally.
So you're like, ugh, no, why would I want to put myself through any of that to begin with? So what the other, I guess kind of fun and interesting element in the season is obviously that this is Francesca's first season out in society.
Speaking of introverts.
Yeah. Speaking of probably the biggest introvert that we've seen so far. Yeah. Francesca is like a bit of the outlier in her family because she's the shy one. And there are no shy Bridgertons.
No. And she also doesn't enjoy all the noise and
all the chaos that comes with 8 kids.
And like if you notice like in any season where they're all like sitting around and like either chatting or like playing a card game or something, she's never there.
She's always off doing her own thing. Like, yes, okay, we get it. In previous seasons she was away in Bath for a period of time and stuff, like I think with family and taking piano lessons and stuff. She's a very good piano player.
She loves her piano
and she's very good at it. She's very talented. So she, so she's like sort of the outlier a little bit, and she's also one of those who like she won't want to necessarily go through the trials of this whole finding a husband thing, but she does basically say she wants to find someone that she's in love with. Like that is what she would like, is somebody that she really, cares about. And I think she just doesn't know how to express that to like the other girls who are like, oh, well, I want him to be good at this and I want him to do that. She's like, no, I don't really care about any of that.
I just want him to be nice.
I just want him to be nice, and I just want somebody that I love. And she does say that she wants to find someone like that. And I'm like, that's nice. That's so sweet. She
doesn't seem overly concerned about finding somebody she loves.
Not at first, but she mentioned something later.
Does she?
Yeah.
I thought it was more like somebody that she's comfortable with.
I think that's what it is, but I mean, I could see how, like, as an introvert, I can see how that, like, equates to it to a degree, because you don't often find that necessarily. Yeah. And
you just find a big extrovert.
Yeah, well, but I mean, that's why they're so often, like, like, I love that we always see, like, these things now online, because everybody likes to make an aesthetic out of everything. And something that I've seen aesthetic-wise on TikTok is sort of like when your friendship is like one black cat, one golden retriever kind of thing.
Megan
and I'm like, okay, we get it. I think we like to make an aesthetic out of fucking everything now, which is a little bit weird, but I understand the like that vibe kind of, and it happens so often with regards to friendships between people and stuff, and relationships as well. You usually have one who's more extroverted, one who's more introverted. So like you're the extrovert in our friendship, but also in your marriage.
Oh, definitely. Oh,
yeah. So, so I think, that makes sense. Anyway, so what I like that like Francesca sticks to her own sort of convictions in the sense of she's like, no, I don't have to make a big deal out of this. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. Yeah. We don't have to make me the center of attention, please. That would be great. And so obviously she's quite uncomfortable being kind of out and about in society because it just means that the attention is automatic no matter what you'd like for it to be. But along the way, she's able to, so the Queen is, I feel like the Queen is much more even-tempered this season about the whole Lady Whistledown thing, where now she's treating it more like a game.
Right.
Like, she just thinks it's kind of fun now, and I think she'd be fucking bored if it wasn't
around. There is that, right? Like, I find that she's not being as, like last season, it was like a full-on, like, vendetta.
Yeah,
like,
the first couple of seasons, it was like, I'm gonna find this person. Now she's just kind of like, all right, I'll play your little game. Yeah, I think we're having fun. I think people are having fun with this. I think I'll play your little game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that, unfortunately, and this is like a kind of a sad side note, but I think that a lot of the things to do with like the elaborate parties, finding a diamond or quote unquote a sparkler this season, which is what we're calling it.
Changed the name.
Yeah, because she's decided she's making her own now.
I know, and cute. Lady Danbury's like, maybe it's Sparkles.
Maybe it's Sparkles. Wink, wink. She's so cute.
A diamond.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think doing a lot of these things that she's doing, where she's becoming a matchmaker for people and trying to do all of these things. Unfortunately, I think a lot of that stems from the fact that she's lonely, and she distracts herself from the fact that the love of her life doesn't really have his faculties about him very often anymore. Which is kind of like her character is a lot darker, I think, than people think about on a regular basis, mostly because she's usually playing around with the gossipy stuff, reading Lady Whistledown, coming up with a little scheme, but there are kind of reasons that she's doing that, unfortunately, and I do think a lot of that has to do with she looks for distractions where she can, and so Lady Whistledown's a great distraction for her. So she uses...
I feel like she'd be bored if she caught Lady Whistledown.
Yeah, I think she'd actually be really annoyed by it.
Yeah, like it'd be like, I thought you were a more worthy adversary.
Yeah, that's it. She'd be like, oh, fuck, what the hell am I going to do now?
Well, that's it. Like, what else is going to occupy her?
Exactly. So I don't think she's actually looking to do that anytime soon. Not really, even if she says she is.
I mean, I think in the next batch, she like puts out a reward or something.
Yeah, well, there's going to be something going on. Yeah, because she wants the chase. She loves it. She finds it entertaining, which is fair. Like, her kids suck, and her husband, unfortunately, is very mentally ill. So, what are you going to do?
Very sad.
Yeah. So, anyway, luckily, because she's decided that she's playing along with all of this, and she still wants to find, like, she was really bored at the beginning, but she really wants to find, that's it, someone special, which she always likes to do every season. She winds up finding it just through finding how enthusiastic Francesca is about doing her own thing and focusing on her own pleasures. And I guess that's one thing we were saying, like, I really like about the Queen is that, like, it doesn't bother her that she's not actively out, like, oh, I have to go perform for the Queen or do this or do that. She actually doesn't like that very much. She's like, it's stupid. And
she wants somebody with their own mind.
With their own mind and their own...
Like she is.
Yeah. And who's always been that way, because she's always been that way and had her own mind about things. So I think that seeing someone else like that she really likes, which is nice. And so obviously her matchmaking this season has to do with Francesca.
Right.
And her trying to set her up with this guy who, he seems fine. He seems okay.
Well, I mean, we don't really see much about him other than the first couple of exchanges
but I don't think there's much to him, which is probably part of it.
I think he's just like, wait, what's his title?
A marquis. He's a marquis. Yeah.
I don't know where that falls.
I forget where that falls. It's up there, though.
It is up there. So he, like, I think it's just because of his title. Yeah. And, like, I think they say he's handsome. I didn't find he was, but anyway.
He wasn't my type, but it's fine. Everybody's beautiful to someone. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, you know, he just seems like a nice guy, and he's like, oh, I would like to have, like, a big family with 8 children of my own, and you can see Francesca, she just nopes right out of there.
Yeah, because, you know, when he first says, like, oh, I also have 7 brothers and sisters, she's like, oh, so you get it.
Yeah, you get how annoying it is.
But then he turns that back around to be like, oh, no, I'd like to have basically just as many children in my house, and she's like, okay, this is not for me at all, and I think she's, like, realizing that. Yeah. And so she has, like, her lovely interaction where she goes outside and someone joins her, and it's a man about her age with her. who is our introduction to a character. Yes, spoiler alert, this is a book character, just as a heads up for everybody, named John Sterling, who is the Earl of Kilmartin.
That's right.
Yeah. Who she gets to meet for the first time and has a few interactions with him throughout the course of the few episodes.
They're so cute.
Yeah, they're very sweet. I liked it. I was happy. I had a feeling, and I think that I said this in the predictions when we were talking about predictions for season 3, that because Francesca's out, something might kick off for potentially her own story and her own season, and I was right. So,
well, what I really loved about, like, I laughed so many times, like, with this kind of I don't know, pairing, because like they're both introverts, like they're super happy to just sit in silence
and not say anything.
And her family, like, I love Eloise. I feel that I resonate the most with Eloise and all these characters, and like when she's sitting there and she's like, I thought you just had to like talk your way out of a potential suitor, but complete silence, it's brilliant.
That's brilliant. She's like, oh my god, this is fantastic.
So funny, and they just can't figure it out, and they're just watching them, and these two
Violet is so confused. She's just like, but they're not saying anything.
Like, how are they going to get
to know each other? But they seem like they're in a really good mood with one another, and they're having a really nice time.
It's just so cute, and they're just so happy to just be quiet. And like Francesca, it's like the longer the silence goes on, the happier she is.
Oh my god, they're
so cute.
So adorable.
And then when she sees him when she's out and about, and she goes up to him,
and she's like, yay!
And she like says a few words to him, and she's like, oh, like, is that why you stopped us? And he just kind of looks confused, and he's like, well, you stopped me.
He's like, no.
And that made me laugh because that's just my husband, like, in a nutshell. Like, it's like, what do you mean? Like, it's just like, and there's nothing mean about it. It's just like, well, what? Like, you're the one who stopped me, you know?
And it's funny because it's like not something that you see, again, like it's not something that you see as often in a real world situation. Normally you have one that's a little bit more extroverted and a little bit more introverted, which usually is like your balance, your dynamic.
Well, that's it. Like, because my husband's like that, so I would just steamroll him and be like, well, no, like, you gotta talk to me now, you know?
But that's it. But, you know, he's like, he is very confused and awkward and takes off when she mentions something about the chord progression from a street musician who's like playing a violin or something. And it's so funny because he dashes off with barely a word.
Again, that's Dan. Like.
Yeah. But then when, like, they're waiting for callers and stuff, he comes in and it turns out that he went to get that sheet music and have it rewritten for her in the cadence or the tempo. I'm sorry, I don't know music, guys. That she said would be more appropriate.
And she just rushes home and, like, plays it on her piano forte.
It's the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so wholesome and so sweet, and I love them.
Because I wasn't sure what they were going to do with that. And I was like, oh, well, if he writes her a song, then I guess that's sweet. But this was like going one step further, because it was like he really heard her.
Like what she said about the piece of music, he heard exactly what she was saying, and he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And he did it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, yeah, okay.
All
like,
right, I'll go do that. And that's just, it's just so much more. I think it's also just so much more romantic. It's so much more personal than here are flowers.
Yeah.
Here are this, like, all of those things.
Even like, here's a song I wrote for you,
like,
which is nice.
All of those things are lovely. All of those things, the flowers, the chocolates, yes, all of those things are lovely. And yes, they very much can be romantic. Of course they can.
Of course.
But the thought process in almost a split second that would go into, okay, I want to, this is him making his intention known. I would like to court this woman. Like, I would like to get to know her and possibly propose to her. Yeah. And in order to do that, I feel like so strongly about this that he went off and did something so personal for her.
But it was like effortless. Like he just kind of was like, oh, okay, like you asked me to do that.
Yeah.
Or not you asked me, but it's like, oh, you said that? I'm going to go do that.
I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. And
it's
it was
so
just
nice.
So nice. And like, it was so funny because he shows up, gives her the sheet music, and what's his name? The other lord went off to get her a lemonade and came back, and the queen's watching, and she's like, he got her lemonade and she's not drinking the lemonade
because she's just like, oh, Mama, I'd like to go. She says to Violet, Mama, I'd like to go home. I'm tired, but it's because she wants to go home and play the song.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah,
anyway, they're fucking adorable, and I'm looking forward to seeing like a little bit of the development with that, because it's really sweet, and I'm really glad that they did it this season, and that we're getting to see like a kickoff of a story and everything this season. It's going to be very smart, and probably will mean that if she does get her own season at some point, Francesca's story will be like that much more impactful, because we're already seeing what's happening.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I think that'll be cool. So, right, okay. Yes, our main focus.
So
Penn and Colin obviously are, yes, they're the main focus no matter what. So there's a lot of back and forth that happens between the two of them. One thing of which really kicks things off for Colin is that after the whole thing, like Lady Whistledown's paper comes out to be like, haha, she was so hard up that she had to ask her male friend for help to find a husband. Haha, everybody make fun of her, blah, 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 basically.
Yeah, she was like really harsh.
She was very harsh with herself, but I think she had a lot of self-loathing in that moment, and it really came through in what she wrote. So that's fair. So when they speak about it, what she does say, where she's like, okay, well, my chances are fucked now, and this is ridiculous, is that she asks Colin to kiss her.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I could die. He's so funny. He's just like, you're not going to die tomorrow. She's like, but I could, and I never would have been
she's
kissed.
Just so upset.
She's so miserable at that point that she's just like, please, can we just do this? I won't expect anything. It doesn't have to mean anything. I just need to know that I can go to my grave at least knowing that I've been kissed, basically.
Once, yeah.
So he does. And there's more than one in there, because it's like you thought it was just going to be that little press, but everybody goes right back in for a minute there.
They do, yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then they do a very good job right at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah.
Because, of course, there's basically a sex dream that happens.
And I wasn't sure if it was hers.
Well, so I think that they purposefully made it so that you were like, okay, she's having like a sex dream about him now, which is fair. But then they're very clever, because then who wakes up from the sex dream? Colin. Colin does.
Oh, and he is distraught.
And he's like, oh, fuck. And you can see it. Even like you could see it after they kissed. She like ran away. She was like, thank you. And she leaves. And he was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. He was like, uh-oh.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no feelings. Yeah. So from that point on, in spite of the fact that he's just like chatting with her a little bit, even though they're keeping their distance because of what had come out, she's slowly but surely forming a bit more of a connection with Lord Debling, again, simply by being herself, really. And he is jealous immediately. And that's what I said I wanted during these predictions. I was like, I want Colin to be jealous as fuck while he's watching this. And I was happy because he deserved it.
Although, side note, I don't know if you noticed this throughout this season or these episodes, but the whole time, so for the first couple of seasons of Bridgerton, this whole notion of being unchaperoned is not allowed. Colin and Penn, who cares? Like, I think completely unchaperoned.
I think they did the throwaway thing at the beginning with her being like, literally no one cares, because first of all, they don't know I exist, and second of all, I'm in my third season and everyone thinks I'm a spinster, so no one cares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it is funny because she even points out in a Lady Whistledown piece that she's like, there have been instances in the past where a woman who's been considered basically quote unquote undesirable or like past her prime or something
lands herself a good suitor,
including what she literally said about like last season is that Kate would have been considered old because she was 26 and she still managed to land the Viscount.
Exactly.
And they're very happily married.
Imagine being old at 26.
Oh fuck, I don't know think about it. Where they're like, she's an old maid, and you're like, okay. All right. And they even talked about it a little bit in the second season where they were like, okay, it'll be harder to get her a husband because she's older. And I'm like, huh?
She's 26.
I'm going to be 35 shortly. So I was like, wow, I take offense to that.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I'm not married either. So. Oh, man.
Yeah, get a move on. I've had my outfit for 2 years.
She's so prepared. More prepared than me. I don't have an outfit. Anyway, so because of all of this, of course, it sets Colin off on the path of I'm jealous, even though I said that I was going to help her with all of this.
It's like he doesn't know what to do with himself.
He has no idea.
He's trying to repress the feelings, but he can't.
So it's mostly just. It's a lot of the longing looks of Luke Newton just longingly looking with better hair and a better jawline.
And his swashbuckling pirate
outfit. God, yeah.
Shireen's
watching the season. She sends me a message and she's like, were they going for a swashbuckling look for him? And I was like, yeah, it's like they were sitting in the room and all the designers and stuff were chatting, the costume department, and they were just like, what about a sexy pirate?
And that's definitely what they went with.
And then and then Shireen's answer to that was swashbuckling swoon.
That's the style.
Which I think you should put on a t-shirt.
I think so. Yeah,
pretty great.
Totally do
Swashbuckling swoon with just a little outline of Colin's profile or something.
Trademark. You can't.
Yeah, you can't have a tam. We called it. Anyway, so. It really causes a lot of that for him, and I appreciate that. I will say too, this season they do a really good job of the stuff the sexual desire that lives below, just like simmering under the surface kind of thing. Like when they start talking and she's telling him that Lord Debling and her have spoken, and then she buys like a little cupcake or something. And she's licking the frosting off her fingers, and he is like honed in on that. Like, and then you notice right after that he buys the same cake. And people are like, he wanted to taste the same flavor that she just had. Oh yeah, totally. Because he couldn't kiss her to find out what it tasted like.
That was like absolutely obvious.
Oh, that was a romance novel moment if I've ever seen one on screen.
He like totally did it like subconsciously as well.
100%. He just took one after because he was like, I'm gonna have the same thing. I'm gonna have the same thing right now. So there's that, and when they're meeting for their lessons initially, and she's in the house, Eloise comes home and she's like, fuck, she's gonna see me, and they're not speaking, and they have a really awkward relationship right now. So she's like, ugh. So he's like, okay, go hide in the study. So she goes into the study and she finds his journal that he kept while he was traveling, and it's smut. Just by the way,
he writes smut.
He writes smut really well.
And she was like,
and she was into it. I know, and I appreciate that she's not scandalized. She's like, oh, I'm into this.
Oh yeah, okay. She's like, I want to read more, please.
I want to read more of this. And she also compliments him, and she's like, you write beautifully. Yeah, because he does.
Yeah, so, and like she would recognize that as a writer.
Yes, she would. Exactly. Yeah. Well, she says the way that she describes it with like, like putting your thoughts and descriptions down to page is not an easy thing to do. So it's funny because she gives little Easter eggs away herself. Yeah, about
she does.
Who she is.
She really does. Like throughout this season, like she says, like I love gossip, and she says it and stuff. And I'm like, girl, you're gonna give yourself away.
And she's like giving herself away a little bit. It's interesting. So, of course, he sees the relationship developing, and obviously, yes, Penelope also has to compete with Cressida, whose mom has like fully pushed her in the direction of Lord Debling. But it's pretty clear overall, I would say, that while he's like a kind person, he's more interested in Penelope because he's seen more genuine feeling and reaction and personality out of her. Yeah. And Cressida has never been taught how to just be herself.
No.
So she's not really able to do anything like that. So it's harder, and I think that's probably part of the reason, too, why she's not necessarily found a husband, because a lot of the men that she comes across probably find her incredibly performative.
Yeah, and, when you think about it, it's almost better for someone like this guy to have a wife like Cressida, because like she would never complain, right? Like she would just be happy to like run the estate and be like, whatever, like the top dog here, Yeah,
and be able to get fancy clothes and whatever, because it seems he's quite wealthy, Lord Debling. He seems
quite wealthy.
So he's pretty up there. So
like, if he's going to be gone for like years at a time, like at the end of the day, does it really matter who he marries?
No, and I think for him that's part of it. He's like I'd like to find someone competent to marry who I know will manage my estate well while I'm away. However, he's just being practical. He's really not looking for love.
He's not going to stop traveling.
And he
even says that, I'm not looking for love. When he said that, I was like, oh sir.
Okay. Yeah. And the thing is that like Pen, while she went into this saying that she was okay with that, really she isn't, because she does have like romantic ideations about her. It's sort of normal that she wants to find someone that she has that connection with. So, while she's assuming that this is the best she's going to get and that's what she should go with, that's not really what winds up happening, because obviously Lord Debling realizes at some point that, oh shit, okay, she's definitely in love with Colin.
Because Mr. shows up like just before the other guy's about to propose.
Just to cockblock everything. Lord Debling. You're really having a hard time with it.
You're really having a hard time with this. But yeah, he like shows up, pushes his like frat boys out the way, because that's the other thing. You see this like evolution in Colin where he's trying to be like a bit of a frat boy, and go to the brothels,
but he's too sensitive to be good at it.
And that's what Violet said. Violet is the one who like always sets her children straight. Man, like she gives them like a little speech every season, and then they like find themselves. You know?
That's what they need. Is they just need to talk to mom. They all think that they don't, but they absolutely fucking do.
They just need to go and talk to mom for 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. So he finally, basically kind of breaks it up to a certain extent, and they have a really awkward interaction where they have an argument. And when she tries to speak to Lord Debling, he's like, "Look, it's pretty clear that you're in love with him, and you should probably sort your shit out."
And that's when he says, I'm not looking for love.
I'm not looking for that. That's not what I want. And he was like, obviously, like, it's clear that you have genuine feelings for Colin, so you should probably work that out.
Yeah.
Basically. And he's not mean about it. He's just honest
like,
about it.
Yeah,
That's what
and
it
again,
is.
like, he's like, I want my things.
This isn't really,
this is what I'm looking
this isn't
for.
what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So I'm getting married because I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what it is. So he takes off, and Pen is like humiliated because, of course, her mom is now like, what the fuck? Like, you, like, really? Like, you couldn't get this proposal? We can't do any of this stuff, all this ridiculousness the whole season. And I do appreciate that for once.
Yeah.
For once, Penelope is like, so you're not going to love me or care about me at all unless I get a wedding ring from someone. Is that
From
what it
a
is?
lord.
Yeah, from Lord. Is that what it is? That's
Yeah.
what it is, right? And she leaves her mom essentially speechless.
Yeah, she says, you don't even want to know if I'm well.
Yeah, like you don't care if I'm all right
Yeah.
or not. And so she takes off, and I hope that her mom takes that to heart because she deserves to hear that.
Yeah, also, she's already got 2 daughters who are pregnant and
Yeah,
married.
that's it. They're both fucking pregnant.
come
Who
on.
cares?
You know?
So she takes off into the carriage. This is a kind of a scene from the book, actually.
is
They
it?
like really redid like, you know, certain aspects of it and stuff. But this is kind of a scene from the book that I know people were waiting for. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she takes off in her carriage. Colin goes running out and goes after her and is like, please, can I come in? Can we talk about stuff? So she's like, okay, fine. So he gets into the carriage and
Side note, it makes me laugh when she's like, we're stopping at the Bridgerton house first. I'm like, y'all are like literally across the street.
I know, like, we're stopping there first. I'm like, you could just hop out at the same place and walk across the street.
I know. It's so funny.
They're so close to each
I know.
other. It's so funny. Yeah. So, and then he essentially, and of course, again, I can understand this from like her perspective. He essentially makes a love declaration.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, right. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
She's like, what? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's insane because, first of all, she's torn herself down so much. She's had so many people tear her down for a long time. And she's been so in love with him for so long and even heard some of the things that are hurtful that he has said. So it's normal from her perspective to be like, yeah, no,
I don't believe you.
There's no way that that's true. Which I can understand. But he's like, no, it is. I literally have not been able to stop thinking about you. Like, since we kissed, all of this stuff, this isn't like a friendship anymore. And then over the course of this conversation, she realizes that he's quite serious.
Oh, yeah.
And so she is like, yeah, no, you know what? I don't really want to be your friend either. I think I'd like to be a lot more than just your friend. So then we actually get like something physical between them halfway through the season as well, which I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but like I said, there's like a whole other layer of problems.
No, well, there's a whole
that
other
have to
problem,
happen
like
now.
amount of problems that are going to happen. So he slips her some digits in the carriage.
What was it you said?
Yeah, gives her some digitization.
Very nice.
When I said before that was a lot
Trademark.
More, yeah, when I said before that was a lot more crude. So this is what it was. This is what happens when our significant others half watch the show with us and then they're like, oh, and they didn't even have sex. I'm like, well, they did something.
Oh yeah, my husband showed up at this exact moment. It's like when you're watching a show and your parents walk in.
I think mine got home maybe 20 minutes before this and just sat down.
Oh yeah, he was like he like sat down like 5 minutes before this started, and he's sitting there, and I look over and he's just looking at me with his eyebrows raised, like, what are you watching?
Why are you watching so much smut? And we're like, you're like, you know, I watch smut.
I know. I'm like, we watch smut all the time.
All the fucking time we read it, we watch it. That's just what it is. So anyway, so they, you know, have a moment, quote unquote, in the carriage, and then when at first you're like, what the fuck? Because they're like right face to face with each other. They've been kissing like this entire time. They're right face to face with each other. And he gets out of the carriage and you're like, are you about to leave without saying
I was like, what is going on? And
okay.
even her in her face, she's like, well, what
fuck?
now?
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
But he turns around and he's like, are you coming? And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, are you gonna marry me or not? And that is how they finish the episode. And that is like a line from the book that he uses. He's like, well, come on, get out of there. Are you gonna marry me or not? And she like goes with him. So then obviously we're treated to just like a quick preview for the next 4 episodes. And yeah, I think that's basically what it's going to be, is that the next 4 episodes are largely going to focus around Eloise basically being, I get the feeling her feelings are going to be, look, if Colin's really in love with you, I'm not going to do anything about that, but you have to tell him that you're Lady Whistledown. You have to tell him.
I'm a little conflicted about this, okay?
In what way?
Like, I feel like, why does she have to tell him?
I think from Eloise's perspective, it's that she felt so slighted by having found out about this, especially the way that she did, and particularly after having realized within that as well, like thought about it and realized how much damage to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Penn created, both in the first season when she, outed Marina
with
for being
Marina.
pregnant.
Yeah, I guess
and then
that's
in the
fair.
second season when she outed Eloise for having, spent time with the quote unquote regular folk, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, it's a tough one, right? Because it's like, obviously, this is, I guess they're going to overcome this issue.
Yeah.
But, like, in reality, you'd be like, look, I get it. Like, you were a different person than when you wrote this. Like, you have this great thing happening now to you. You've got everything you wanted. Just stop fucking writing it.
Maybe stop doing it. Yeah.
Like, just stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to make you tell him, because, like, I think I saw in the preview, like, Eloise literally is like, if you don't tell him by midnight.
You have by midnight. Yeah, I know, which is a little bit high horsey of her,
Yeah.
but Eloise is also a bit like that.
She's very high horsey. I get it. Like, so it's tough, right?
Yeah, so it's a little bit difficult. The only other thing that I want to touch on, which is like a lovely side plot that I find is really fun, that I really like for this season, is Will and Alice Mondrich are she has a great aunt who was in very good, like, high standing within the community, who passed away, and there is no other male heir to inherit the title from her, so their oldest son actually inherits the title, and so
barren.
Yeah, so they're actually able to step into high society and do a lot of navigating of that, and they're so sweet and genuine, and they've been like that since the first season, and I love them, and I just love seeing. I guess it's really nice for an audience, I think, to also see like a quote unquote regular couple, because they got together in a much more normal way. There was no arrangement, there was no being out in society. They found their partner, and even Will and Benedict have a quick conversation about that at some point, where Benedict basically tells him how lucky he is because he doesn't have to deal with any of the pomp and circumstance of this. He's found his partner.
I really love that whole scene where, like, Mondrich is like, I don't know how I'm supposed to follow all these rules.
Yeah.
And Benedict is like, well,
you don't really have to anymore.
Have to. Like, he's like, look at that couple over there. Like, you're not supposed to drink more than 2 drinks at these things, but every
Sloshed.
time they come they're completely drunk. Like, it's so good.
And it's just because for them, they were told that here are all the rules, and until they're able to experience a bit of it themselves, it's normal that they're like, okay, well, we should just follow the rules because we don't know what else we're supposed to do. Especially Alice, she's like, I don't want to make some sort of misstep and have that come back on my son later, which is understandable. Yeah, that's it. But that's lovely, and I hope that we get to see more of them. I love that we've slowly but surely over the last 2 seasons seen them more, and we're going to continue to do so.
They're great characters.
They're great characters, and they're like a really wonderful couple, and I really like to see them together. They're really sweet.
Yeah.
I think everybody's pumped for June 13th so that we can see how the rest of it goes.
I'm going to have to go and rewatch these episodes now.
I think I'm going to. I think I'll wait a few weeks, and then I'll do a rewatch, like, probably not long before the next batch drops.
Because I can't, like, not watch them now.
No.
Because it's going to be a month, and I'm going to, like, the hype is going to be gone in
a
my
little
brain,
bit, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I need to, like, rewatch it.
Agreed, for sure. Yeah, so we'll probably do that before the next batch drops, and then we'll be bringing you another episode once that happens, too. But until then, obviously, you guys can go check out everything that we're covering for Bridgerton, for historical fiction, and everything else that we've got coming over at the website at fullybookedca. You can also find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at fullybookedca, and you can check out our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/bookwaswaybetter. But until next week, guys, or later this week, in fact, keep on reading.
Thanks, everyone.